Hi, Cory. I'm sorry it's been so long since I was able to revisit your secret garden. I've been recovering from my liver injury that I acquired because I took some ancient Chinese herbal medicine. I was not really, uh, I didn't realize how powerful those were, that they are actual drugs. Just because they're herbs doesn't mean they're not a drug. Herbs can be very powerful. Um, Anyways, I ingested that over a period of like 3 weeks, and it caused my liver some serious injury, and I've had to recover for several weeks. Um, I typically lead a lifestyle that's centered around fitness and wellness. And so it was a very humbling experience for me not being able to exercise for a week straight, um, 3 weeks straight. This was my first week back, actually. And, just in general being tired all the time. That was just, it's very humbling. But I'm getting there. My levels are almost back to normal, and I'm feeling a lot more like myself. And you have been on my mind because of your extremely helpful and insightful reading you gave me in the midst of all of that. I can't tell you how much I value that, how much I valued, how much it meant to me that you provided me that in my darkest hour. It was so it nourished my soul in a way that it needed to be at the time. So thank you very much for that. um, I hope I can repay the favor today. In my illness stupor, I kind of like went there a couple of times, but I didn't really stay very long because, like I told you, traveling to the etheric side, it drains me. And I've felt drained just like getting up and walking to the bathroom and back to my bed. So doing that on top of it, it was like exhausting. But I kind of just kept like just taking a step into that world just to, you know, make sure that I still had my footing. And I do. So I'm going to try to step into there again today and share with you. And I hope that it resonates with you. I hope you're on your awesome trip and that you're stepping outside of your comfort zone and enriching yourself in the ways that you hoped to be. I look forward to hearing about that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get comfortable and pull this. Okay. So, I'm at the site, the same site. I'm taking a quiet, soft stroll around the grounds. I don't know if I think it's right at dawn again. It's not, the sun isn't coming up, but there's some kind of warm but ambient light that's kind of settled everywhere. It's not like the sun is like rising or setting, like the light is coming from a specific direction. It's almost like there's just like kind of what you imagine in Alaska or somewhere up close to the poles when they say the sun never sets. and it might set for, for 3 months straight, or it doesn't completely set for 3 months straight. um, it's almost like there's just this little faint ambient light all around, but it's dim and dark-ish everywhere. And in the corner of the hedges, those dark forest green hedges that are lush and full and thick, um, I touch them and they're soft. They're not like a velvety soft, the leaves are waxy. But there's so many of them. There's kind of a, necessarily a fluffiness, but a plush feeling of abundant foliage. I can smell it all around. It's, I'm in that courtyard where the butterflies were covering that statue. I don't see the butterflies. It's almost like they have receded, because this darkness is it's not really conducive to creatures of light, so to speak. It's a temporary darkness, and it's not even like a bad thing. It's kind of a cyclical thing, an energetic cyclical process that kind of like, like the earth undergoes different seasons of change. Like winter is a time when, life kind of subsides, and it seems like death everywhere. Like more people die in the wintertime. More things, more animals, creatures of all types die in the wintertime. There's scarcity of food, there's scarcity of light, there's scarcity of energy, scarcity of warmth. It's just a cyclical process, because that's what the symbol of spring is, right? Like the bringer back of warmth, the freshness, the newness. I'm getting a real feeling of dormancy in this courtyard right now. But I do see the structure that the butterflies were on. I can finally see it, and it is a fountain. It's a fountain made, it's fashioned with stones. And it's funny, the last session, the last reading that I gave you, like I said, it's like that this entire courtyard is like that of like Versailles, like Louis the 14th, and but I don't see any fountains, because I've been there. I've been there twice, and there were fountains everywhere. You had to wait until Sunday for when they turned the fountains on. They would only turn them on once a week, because it drives down all the water levels in all of Paris to turn all of these fountains on. There's so many of them. But this fountain, it's not on. It's just standing there, and it's kind of embodying this like dormant, this state of dormancy that I feel kind of settled. And it's like the sun is just, it's just kind of hovering on the horizon, and it's not time really for it to rise again right now. I mean, like, what do bears do in the wintertime? They hibernate, right? They hibernate, they sleep, they don't eat much, they don't move much. It's like they sleep most all winter so that they don't have to expend that energy. I'm getting a feeling of that. Like that is, it's essential right now. It's crucial. Like everything can't be a buzz and happening all the time. right? It can't be, you know, running on all cylinders and revving at 100% capacity at all times. It has to have a state of like rest. Um, it's but it's still that same feeling like of don't fret. There is something on the horizon, that this state of respite, this state of resounding resolve and going back into oneself for reflection is truly enriching and important. Ah, yes, okay. There's a gardener, and he's pruning the tree. And the tree is in the background of this fountain that's just sitting there. And the fountain is beautiful, might I add. I knew that whatever these butterflies were perched all over, it was like a gorgeous something. And remember, I wanted to look at it. There was a part of me that wanted to shoo them away so I could see it. But, really the sight to behold was far lovelier than I knew whatever they were concealing under there. Um, yeah, there's like gorgeous gemstones embedded in the circular features of this fountain. There's like multiple layers of it. You can see that it would be a sight to behold if the water was on, and the trickling down in the layered fashion would be just marvelous, especially if those gemstones were glistening in the sunlight, you know? But behind this gorgeous, ornate, jewel encrusted fountain is a gardener, and he kind of has a hunch. He's kind of aged. He's paying me no mind. He's going about his business. He is pruning a tree, and it feels almost sad but necessary. Because I know, like, it looks like a fruit tree, and it looks like it had a lot of fruit on it during the season that it fruited, that it blossomed, and then those blossoms turned to fruit. It's like I can, on the bare bones of this tree in this winter type state setting landscape, I can see what this tree was. Ah, okay. And I'm kind of given the direction from spirit and what it will be again. Okay. What it was and what it will be again. This is not simply what it is just the current state that it holds. It still holds the same space, as when it was fruitful, and it will be fruitful again. But he's pruning it, and it kind of hurts to watch, because it's like outstretched branches that reached so high, and you can even like see where, the fruit would have been hanging. I can even see some like old, they're not even like rotting anymore. It's like the outer peels of what might be like pomegranates or some kind of nutrient rich fruit that it long since rotted, and the seeds are kind of poking out, and they've fallen from this tree, and their time of nourishment has long passed. But it's like they serve as a reminder of what this tree was, what this tree will be again, what it will provide again. And it's not a small tree; it's rather large, but he's painstakingly reaching up to the branches and clipping it back, and it's like it's clipping this tree down to size. It's making it smaller and look less formidable than it was. You know, it makes it look so tiny in this winter setting. But even though he has almost like an executioner look to him, this gardener in his drab uh, garb with his shears, his pruning shears, and his little like beanie hat because it's kind of chilly and windy. Like he kind of has like an executioner look to him, but he also has a slight smile on his face, like he knows what he's doing is right. And it's going, I have fruit trees in my yard. I have a citrus and I have a lime tree. And I also have a pomegranate tree too. And it's just like this whole scene is interesting because when we first planted all of these trees, you know, and they bore fruit to us and we were excited. It's like, well, we have pomegranates, we have oranges, we have limes, they came from our trees, you know. Well, we just wanted those trees to get bigger so that they would give us more, you know. But we weren't really like experienced fruit tree growers, arborists or whatever you would call us, and we didn't prune those trees. And I remember I called into a gardening show, and you're supposed to prune the trees in the winter time. It's funny, I'm seeing this whole scene in this winter setting with him pruning this fruit tree in the winter, because that's the period of time in which less growth is happening. Like growth ceases, so it's time to cut the tree back so that when growth does return, it's like the way it was explained to me on the gardening show was the tree will come back more and grow quicker than it would have otherwise because the growth has to go through, like, all right, so that the nutrients has to come from the soil, right? You give the tree the nutrients from the soil and it gets the rain from the soil and it has to go up the trunk, all the way up the trunk, and then all the way out the branches, all the way out to the tips of the branches to actually form new growth to that point. And that's a long way to travel for new growth. But if you prune that tree back, specifically on the citrus tree, if you prune it on the areas where it bore fruit before, if those are the areas that you prune, then it will grow more in that area and it might bear fruit on that again. But if you just leave it and you don't prune it, you don't clip it back, fruit's not going to happen at that spot again. So, like, this is all very metaphorical. I'm jiving with the metaphor of respecting the fruits of one's labor by pruning oneself, by cutting back the areas of your life, of your endeavors that are not any longer serving you. Maybe they did serve you at one point in time. Maybe they did bear you fruit last season. But if you don't take close note and look at that spot to see, is this spot going to bear the same kind of fruit again in that same spot? If I don't, you know, like, if I don't, what's the word I'm looking for? Sorry. I think you understand what I'm saying. If I don't change it in some way, if I don't, you know, edit it, annotate it, fix it, revise. All of these are words that like I'm trying to, they're almost what I'm getting at. Let's explore further. So, yes. More multiple vectors of fruit bearing are apparent from the dropped seeds. Spirit is directing me back to, is like, no, you're not done looking at those fruit that have long since fallen. Just because something looks like it didn't get consumed, it didn't work, it didn't happen for that one, there's still dormant seeds inside of that ill taken fruit. Not ill taken, but that fruit that was never consumed, that you never got to fully experience it for what it was. I'm getting the feeling of that there's a whole lot of different kinds of fruit in your life that maybe, I'm not sure if maybe you were expecting it to do something more for you, and or maybe it's still in the process, but you're having doubts about it, and about it actually, manifesting as something that you originally intended it to. But I'm getting the feeling of like, don't despair. It's still there. It's, it might still take some nourishing, and this might not be the right time. Planting seeds in the winter time is not really the right time to sprout, young saplings, because what's going to happen to them? They're going to shrivel, they're going to die. The harsh wind is going to be too much for them to bear. No, it's best that they stay in that dried rind that the fruit used to be housed inside. It's best that those seeds stay sheltered in there for the time being, until the time is right, until the season changes, so that they can thrive. Yep, so that they can sprout to the awakened sun that welcomes them into the world rather than shuns them away with harsh winds. It's a lot about timing. It's a lot about cycles of energy. Certain times are not the right time, and yeah, I'm okay. Shifting of landscape. It's all kind of coming apart like a jigsaw puzzle. Bear with me. I'm really getting lightheaded. Almost like I'm Have you ever been hiking in the mountains and the air is thin? It's the feeling I'm getting right now, like thin air, not not a lot of like oxygen. It's, I feel like I'm like way up high somewhere. The picture is still emerging for me. I need a couple more breaths to kind of let it settle. Major energy shift here though, major, like palpable and real and intense. Okay, this is disorienting. Let me get a handle of this. Okay. I'm floating. I'm definitely suspended in the air, but it's like I'm barely touching something, almost like I'm on the surface of the moon and I have a buoyancy to me. There's a buoyancy that I'm not completely like feet flat on the ground somewhere. The gravity is not strong here. And I'm I'm touching like a solid surface, but it's kind of like I'm bouncing off of it in a light and airy fashion. It's like I'm inside of a bubble and there's so much movement all around me, and I'm trying to make sense of what it is. Like it's a flapping. I'm hearing a flapping all around me, and it's very sensational. It's kind of overwhelming, and mixed with this like kind of buoyancy, bouncing sensation, and the flapping all around me. It's not something I've ever experienced, and I'm feeling like a strong sense that I have to trust this. I have to trust this vehicle, whatever it is, for what it is, because I'm here. This is where I am. And oh God, it's a little like motion sickness, nauseating though. Like it's a lot of movement inside of the bubble, the bouncing movement. There's a lot of I'll kind of like bounce off the top with my head, and like I'll touch the side. Like it's not a very big bubble. I'm able to stand inside of it, but I get the feeling that the bubble itself is also moving. It's actually being carried by the flapping. Okay, lots of pictures. A picture of the um okay, the fountain, the beautiful jewel encrusted fountain, flashes of pictures of the butterflies all over it, and then it without the butterflies, like this same exact structure with and without the butterflies flashes to me. And now I understand the flapping is butterflies, and they are covering this bubble, and they are actually carrying me in this bubble that I am floating over the world in. Okay, I'm a lot less nervous now. Like I've gotten kind of a feel for what's happening here. It's intense though. It's crazy. Like they have covered my bubble as though I am the fountain, and that's what those pictures were showing me, so that I didn't get overwhelmed from the sensation of it, and I understood. Okay, like I am the fountain inside of this bubble, and I'm getting a sense of I'm really not in control, but that's okay, because these are spirit guides. These are like some straight up, they know what's good for me spirit guides. You knew that these butterflies were spirit guides to you. You felt it, like they are all around you. They are everywhere you look. And that's what I'm getting, like everywhere I look. Like no matter if I look to my left, right, up, down, in this bubble that is my reality, they are guiding me through my life, and they're carrying me in an essence, in a very real sense, and it's like they've got it covered, and I am kind of along for the ride here. That which makes it disorienting is this bubble that I'm in, and I'm kind of getting the impression like that's what's making me like kind of feel sick, this bouncing up and down. And it's like whenever I try to inflict my will on the situation, like if I try to walk, or if I try to jump or do anything, it's like it disrupts what they're doing. And I'm getting the the essential guide message of trust. Trust and witness. Whenever they've taken over like this, obviously they're taking me somewhere. Why would I try to be a detriment to that? Why would I try to exert my own will? Just, I guess, because of my own ego, because like I want to be the creator of my own universe. I want to be the one who decides where I'm going and what I'm doing with these gifts that I have. They're steering the course, though, and there's so many of them. It's almost like as soon as I like relinquish that need to control the situation, and I kind of just sit back, and I don't even acknowledge the bubble's existence anymore, and it kind of ceases to exist. Like that bubble is an illusion. I just float with them, and I know where they're taking me is where I need to go. And I know that once I get there, I will have the tools. They know I have the tools and the skill set to execute what I need once I'm there. It's about the going with the flow of what our spirit guides know that we need.